Hey, welcome back, subscribers. My name is Ale. This is my world of stocks, and today we are continuing our newest mini series where we hunt for the next big stock breakout opportunity. I believe we are on episode 3 now of our search for beaten down stocks that the broader market currently hates, but that I think could be massive sleeper plays over the long term. Now, these stocks do carry much higher risk, though, so as always, make sure just to do your own due diligence and make your own decisions. But if you are enjoying the series, then make sure to hit the like and the hype buttons down below. That lets me know that you guys would like to see more of these episodes in the future of crashing stocks that I think could turn into potentially multi-baggers in the future. And after having covered some pick and shovel plays in cybersecurity and enterprise software, well, today we are actually diving headfirst into the financial infrastructure layer of our increasingly digital economy. And for that, I chose to go with a personal favorite of mine in SoFi Technologies, ticker symbol SOFI. And here's why I chose it. So, first of all, if we just look at the financial sector as a whole, the reality is that the next generation of, let's call it, mid to high income consumers will very likely prefer a frictionless digital experience for their money. And yet, we see so many legacy banks still operating on incredibly clunky old school systems, where up until recently, really, many people still had to use a website or app for their checking, maybe log into a completely different broker for their investing, and then go to a physical branch location for a home loan, maybe to get insurance or even consolidate debt. It was inefficient, it was slow, and it wasn't very convenient. But the future of finance is really going to be digital first. It's going to be highly scalable and it's going to be consolidated, where consumers want to do their banking, saving, and investing and borrowing all in one place. And ideally, the whole experience can be buttery smooth on an easy to use app right on your phone. Well, that's exactly where SoFi came into the picture, being one of the first to really offer an everything app for your money. And they've been rapidly stealing market share ever since from the rigid legacy financial institutions. A market, by the way, that is easily worth multiple trillions of dollars when you encompass just, lending and financial services alone. In fact, according to the newly published banking report from McKinsey, well, we know that last year traditional banks alone did over $1.3 trillion in pure net income profit. Guys, that's not sales. That's the smallest bottom line profit. And it was a record breaking year. It was a record high, even with interest rates and inflation hurting consumers. That's how much money is really there to be had. And you want to know something that's even crazier than that? Well, we also just found out that this actually came out just this very month, in fact, that last year fintechs already generated over $500 billion in sales. And it was 4 times higher growth than traditional banks. How insane is that? In other words, legacy banks have a mouth-watering cash cow business that they've been solely dominating for decades. But that monumental pool of money is now getting completely disrupted by fintechs. And in my opinion, SoFi is one of the very best plays for that disruption among them. And there's several reasons why I believe that. One of the most important, one of the most that I'm most excited about myself, for example, is in their mission to become almost like the AWS of fintech. See, a few years ago, SoFi made some really important strategic acquisitions of companies called Galileo and Technisys. And what this did is it gave SoFi ownership of the actual back-end infrastructure, much of the technology that other banks and payment apps use themselves. For example, Galileo handles much of the payment processing as well as the issuing of physical and digital debit cards, while Technisys operates as the core banking ledger, which is a system that keeps track of where every single dollar actually is. So when a competitor bank or a brand new fintech app wants to launch a new card or manage their users' money, well, they don't have to build it from scratch, but rather they can just simply pay SoFi instead to use their own tech engine to run it. This acts as almost like a toll booth effect where every time a competitor's user swipes a card, SoFi gets a tiny cut behind the scenes. In other words, SoFi isn't just a consumer based app, but rather they're quickly becoming a pick and shovel tech stack provider for the broader finance markets. And long term management believes that this infrastructure gives them a giant advantage over competitors and will be the key to rolling out future products faster than anyone else. Where over on the consumer side, they continue to dominate with their all in one app that provides that frictionless ecosystem that we talked about earlier, where users can handle checking, savings, loans, insurance, investing, and more all in one place, for which they continue to innovate and expand on too. For example, they recently brought back cryptocurrency trading and they just launched SoFi USD, which is the first ever US bank issued stablecoin available for use directly right inside a banking app. And they're leveraging that blockchain to make transactions even faster and cheaper for users too. On top of that, they also just rolled out a brand new product called SoFi Coach for their Plus members. This is basically an automated coaching tool that helps you budget, lower your costs, and optimize your finances. And in my opinion, if they continue to upgrade Coach with new features, especially AI ones, well, it could potentially replace the need for traditional financial advisors longer term, at least for many people. And either way, I just think it ultimately deepens their relationship with their customer base even further. And as if all of that wasn't enough, one of their biggest secret weapons that I think actually fuels much of this, which doesn't get talked about nearly as much as I think it probably should, is their national bank charter. See, a couple of years ago, SoFi actually secured an official bank charter that now allows them to hold their own member deposits. Before this, they had to rely on third party banks to fund their loans, but now they're able to use their own members' deposits to fund their lending as well, which drastically lowers their cost of capital compared to almost every other pure fintech player out there, giving them an incredibly strong competitive advantage. And so the result of all of this has been just as equally impressive growth for the company. Last quarter, for example, SoFi added a record more than a million new members just in a single quarter alone, bringing their total user base up now to nearly 15 million people. And despite the economy dealing with tremendous macro headwinds, SoFi was still able to grow their sales by over 40% year over year, with even their lending revenue actually surging by 55% despite analysts panicking about high interest rates hurting demand. Even their home loan segment skyrocketed by 137% too. And best of all, SoFi is no longer just a tech startup burning through cash in order to fuel that growth, but rather they are actually turning a very real, recognizable profit. In fact, their net income more than doubled in size. And when looking at the rule of 40, a metric for judging both profitability and growth, which is something, by the way, that many financial institutions still struggle with, well, SoFi has actually exceeded 40% in practically every quarter that the company's been public at close to 5 years, with the most recent reading even topping 70%, which is almost unheard of among competitors. In other words, SoFi is, in my opinion, in a class of their own. And it's allowed them to really build this highly successful platform that continues to not only grow in user count, but they're even cross selling at an alarming rate too. This is actually what I've always been most excited about myself as an investor, where SoFi, really their entire strategy has been built around getting members to use more of their products and ecosystem over time. And it's working better than ever. Last quarter, for example, what they call their X buy rate jumped to 43%. That's just to kind of break that down for you guys. That means that close to half of all their members are now using multiple SoFi products. That's huge because every additional product a member adopts makes them stickier, more profitable, and more likely to stay inside of SoFi's ecosystem long term. This compounding effect is one of the biggest drivers behind all of that accelerating growth that we just covered. And yet, despite the numerous reasons to be optimistic about where SoFi is likely headed long term, the stock has actually cratered more recently, losing about half of its entire value from the top, as investors panicked over high interest rates, student loan moratoriums, and macroeconomic uncertainty. that caused many of them to even completely flee the sector, with SoFi losing a giant chunk of their value along the way. But again, if you actually look at the underlying business numbers, they completely contradict the market's fear. And that's especially the case when you look at how low the valuation has now fallen, where SoFi is even trading for a PEG ratio that is over 25% lower than the sector median. A sector, by the way, that includes legacy banks, which have always been among some of the lowest valuation metrics. Yet SoFi is even lower than that. It's kind of crazy. Again, all of this is just my own personal opinion. So, you should always do your own extensive research, make your own decisions. But in my view, I just think that SoFi deserves to actually trade much higher than the sector, and I believe it will in the distant future. In fact, I'm actually up a lot on my own position already, but I'm still buying more on this dip, and I plan to hold these shares for ideally decades to come, where I think it definitely uh, can hold multi-bagger potential. But hey, what do you guys think? Do you agree with my assessment, or do you think that I am crazy for taking a chance on a fintech stock that the market seems to really hate at the moment? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. I welcome all views for sure. And hey, if you didn't like this choice for this episode, then don't worry, because I already have episode 4 lined up with another exciting beaten down tech stock to continue this mini series. So if you want to see that next episode, let me know just by hitting that like button. But hey, either way, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you are all doing well, my friends, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Thanks again for stopping by. All right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.